Hi guys, I'm Boaz and this is Boaz International School in Lavington. Subscribe to our channel, like and share to your friends. So today I want us to go through some of the revision questions in your 7 and 8 mathematics in Cambridge system. Now look at this question. We have been given a square and a square simply implies all the dimensions are the same. So it is 8 and should also be 8. Then we have a rectangle which is given here y and 16. Now the question is, the square and the rectangle have the same area. Find y. So as a student who wants to pursue mathematics, the first thing to do is to analyze the situation. So you have to read the question and understand what they're talking about. They talk about this is a square and this is a rectangle. But they have what? The same area. So you are supposed to find y. Now number one, you must at least familiarize yourself with the properties or qualities of a particular shape. We know very well that they are all quadrilaterals because they have the four sides. So number one, since we are talking about the area of each case, if I talk about a square, we all know that the area of a square is side times side, which we mathematically write to be side squared. So since this one was 8, the other side is automatically 8, even if you have not been told in exam. The moment you know it is a square. So what am I supposed to do? I take 8, I multiply by 8, then I get 64 centimeters square. The other thing I would also love to remind my year 7s and 8 across the country is that the units matters a lot. Don't just write 64. If the units were in centimeter, you write centimeter squared. Then you get to the rectangle, which we know the area of the rectangle should be length times width. Then we know the length was given to be 16 and the width we were given to be y. So if you multiply by y, and remember this thing before even we proceed, whenever you multiply a letter and a number, that brings the concept of algebra. For example, 16 times y becoming what? 16y. Before we go ahead to solve this question, I just want to explain this. If somebody tells you, for example, 4 times k, the answer is always 4k. I'm trying to generalize my explanation because here we are revising. A number times a letter will always be that number and that letter, where the letter is simply called in mathematics a variable. Then that number part, we call it coefficient. That is just the naming. We call it the coefficient. Next time somebody may ask you, what is 13 times p times y? Remember, a variable times a variable is the product of those two variables. So coming here, you can write 13, p times y is py. So it simply implies 13 py means 13 times y times p. And that is the meaning here. Okay? The next time you may also be asked, what is letter A times letter A times letter K? Remember, a letter times a letter, A times A becoming A squared. Then you multiply by K, so the solution should be A squared K. Okay, I've just explained this part. So next time you have been given the idea of the variables, you know what to do. If they ask you what is y times y times y, remember y appear 3 times. So mathematically speaking, you will write y to the power 3, which we call it y cubed. The cube means is the power. I've had some situation to my students across during marking of the Cambridge papers. Somebody simply writes, if you ask them to write y cubed, to simplify, they say y times 3, and that is wrong. You cannot take the variable, the base times the power. Y to the power 3 means y times y times y. The same case is applicable if somebody tells you a to the power 4. It does not mean a times 4. Year 7s and 8 listening to me. You take the a, you multiply by a, you multiply by a times a 4 times. It tells you the number of times you multiply that variable. So allow me to solve this case We were told they were the same, so you are supposed to take the 64 for the square is supposed to be what we had already gotten, 16y. Don't mix it. This was just an explanation. Now, since 64 equals 16y, remember when you take a number times a letter, you divide both sides by the coefficient. So we divide by 16. We divide by 16. So 16 will go, and your y becomes 16 goes here 1, 16 goes here 4. So your y becomes what? Becomes 4. So the value that they wanted, our y is supposed to be 4. Allow me wrap this part to explain. Now, sometimes students do not really like algebra just because of letters. But algebra or algebraic expressions, they simply represent real situations. Okay, for example, if somebody tells you we have 16 apples. If we have 16 apples, okay, then somebody talks about we have 3 mangoes. So if we decide and let apple denoted by A, so we are going to talk about 16A. Plus, if I decide to take letter M for mango, we are going to add to 3M. And remember, in such a case, we call A and M unlike terms. So I find many students in Cambridge schools, they normally say, if you ask them, what is 16A plus 3M? They will say 19A or 19M, which is incorrect. But if you bring it in reality that if you have 16 mangoes plus 16 apples plus 3 mangoes, they would naturally tell you the answer is 16 apples and 3 mangoes. They will not say 19 apples or 19 oranges or 19 whatever the type of fruit. It's because the algebra is simply what you do in reality. An example, if I ask you, what is 4x plus 3y plus 10x? The basic thing here in year 7 and 8 that you should know, that there is something we call like terms. Like the x and x are the same. So we do what is called collecting the like terms. So what are the like terms? We had 4x and 10x. So I'm going to collect like terms, the 4x plus the 10x. Then lastly, I had the 3y. But remember, 4 of the x plus 10 of the x, we get 14 of the x. So we are supposed to get 14x plus 3y. So that is the simplified form. You cannot simplify it beyond that particular point. Now, allow me also to explain something. What is the meaning of 16a, or what is the meaning of 3m? The analysis of that particular variable that you are seeing, or an expression that we have. 16a means 16 times a. And 3m simply means, when you talk about 3m, means 3 times m. The same way somebody may ask, what is the meaning of the 14x? It simply implies, 14x simply implies 14 times x. 3y mathematically means 3 times y. And I want to make myself very clear on that. So next time you have just been given a general equation, an expression, for example, somebody giving you 18xyk. Then they ask you, what is the meaning of 18xyk? It simply means the product. And when I use the product in mathematics, it simply means multiplication. Now listen to this. 18xy simply means 18 times the variable x times y times k. We are multiplying everything. We are not adding them. The same way somebody can come and tell you 4p squared k cube. You know, if they bring such a thing, then they're asking you, what is the meaning of 4p squared k cube? It simply means we have the letter 4, number 4, we multiply by p squared. P squared means p times p. P squared does not mean p times 2. I know most of you have already done that in the past. But when it is a square, means the number of times you multiply that variable. So it means I multiply by p and I multiply by p. Then having the k cube means k times k times k. I'm trying to break down the algebra, to break down that notion, to simplify, to bring it at home to the point that you clearly see it is not as what you have always been thinking. Okay? Next time somebody may give you 4y cubed z plus 3y squared z. Remember these two, you cannot simplify it beyond that point. Why? Because the y is cubed, the y here is squared. So cube is a different family compared to the square. Though z is the same in that part. Allow me, Rab, to explain this. Now look at that simple equation. Equation means it has an equal sign. But if there is no equal sign in algebra, we call it an expression. Now if somebody asking you to simplify this, how do you simplify that, my year 7s and year 8 across the country? This is what you're supposed to do. We collect the like terms. Remember, we have the number part. Here is 10. You all know 10 is a number and 102 is a number. The 28y, it has the variable part. And what did I say? When you interpret 28y, just to understand it, 28y means 28 times y. It simply implies you take 28, you multiply by y. So let us start by collecting like terms. So 28 times y equals, I had 102. And remember, when you have an equal sign, there is something what we call additive inverse or subtractive inverse. I know some of you in some point you might have been taught that when a number crosses equal sign, it changes the sign. But the logic behind it simply means when it is a plus, we minus it both sides. And that is what we call in mathematics subtractive inverse. To subtract is to minus. And inverse means the opposite of the sign that is there. So what am I supposed to do? I will write negative 10 and I write positive 10 this side. So it means this 10 minus 10 will cancel. So this side we are only going to remain with 28 times y, which is 28y. So remember 102, and since I was doing subtractive inverse both sides, I will minus 10. Then what is the next step? I will have my 28 times y will be equal to 102 minus 10 is 92. So we write here 92. Now how do I get the value of y? Remember this. This is where students in the past, through marking, teaching, discussions across mathematics seminars, students have always written it in the wrong way. An example, somebody tells them 3x is equal to 10. Then you find a student dividing by 3, you find a student dividing by 10, which is wrong. What are we supposed to do? Since we are multiplying here, the opposite of multiplication is division. Okay? Then what am I supposed to do? I divide both sides by 28. I divide both sides by 28. Because it is the opposite of multiplication. Now 28 will cancel. So my y, which is the variable that I look for, is supposed to be 92 divided by 28. But remember, you cannot leave your answer at that point. We have to simplify. How do we simplify? Look at a common factor. Like 2 goes here 46, 2 goes here 14. 2 can go here 23, 2 can go here 7. Remember, we are getting 23 out of 7. What if you are expected to write it as a fraction or as a mixed number? You are going to take 23 to be our dividend, then you bring out 7, which is our divisor. Then you ask yourself, can 7 go into 2? No. Then you take the whole part of the number. Can 7 go into 23? Yes. It goes 3 times, giving you 21. Then you minus, the remainder is 2. So what do we get? Our answer is 7, remainder 2 out of 3. So we take the answer we are getting here, we normally call it in mathematics quotient. Whatever we have here is, no, this is the divisor, sorry. Whatever we have here is the divisor. Whatever we are getting is what is called the quotient. This is the remainder. So our answer becomes 7 and 2 over 3. That's what we are supposed to do. Let us do one more. Now, let us look at that question. It is 3 into 2y minus 8 equals to 80. Number one, there is a variable there, y. So what is the first step? The first step in mathematics is to open the bracket. And opening the bracket, we call it distributive property. Distributive property. Distributive property simply means we are distributing. So the number that we have here, remember we have 3. 3 must multiply 2y, and the same 3 must multiply what? 8. So we say 3 times 2y, we multiply the number part. 3 times 2 is 6. Then we add it with y. Then 3 times 8, remember 3 is a positive number. Positive times negative, we still get what? A negative. So 3 times 8, we get a 24. Then we equate it to be 80. What is the next part? I talked about additive and subtractive inverse. Now, since this one is a negative, what am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to add 24 both sides. Then 24 minus 24 will cancel out. So we are only going to have 6y equals, what is 80 plus 24? We get 104. 104. Then how do we find y? We basically know, we have to interpret and know what are we talking about. 6y means 6 times y. So we are simply equating it to be 104. Since we are multiplying, what do we do? The opposite of multiplication is division. So we divide both sides by 6. We divide both sides by 6. So 6 will cancel out, then we get a y. How do I get my y? My y becomes 104 divided by 6. Then we look at a common factor that can divide both 104 and 6. Let us start. 2 can go here 52. 2 can go here 3. Then we have 52 divided by 3. Then we can use the long method to divide. So we may write our answer as a mixed number. So we have our 52 here. Use the long method. This is our dividend. Our divisor is 3. Then you start with 5. Can 3 go into 5? Yes. 3 go into 5 once, giving you 3. The remainder is 2. Can 3 go into 2? No. If it cannot, you pull down the other 2. Can 3 go into 22? Yes. It goes 7 times, giving you 21. The remainder is 1. So the answer is called the quotient. This is the divisor. This is the dividend. And this is the remainder. So how do we write our answer? We take 17 and the remainder was 1 out of 3. And that becomes the answer of the value of y. Thank you so much guys for watching. Subscribe to our channel. Share to your friends. Like, you can go to our Facebook page. We are based in Lavington. We do homeschooling. We do tuition. Our offices are in Lavington. We do also homeschooling so that we can register you. Even people that are transitioning from CBC or Kenyan system to Cambridge to do the IGCSE and the A-levels. We do all that. We will help you to register for your exams, do your Cambridge exam, and we also bring these people of careers so that you may do your career choices. You go study in any of the universities of your choice. So thank you guys for subscribing and thank you for watching.